Good evening, folks. Welcome to yet another webinar of India Finland Startup Hub. It's a pleasure to be hosting you all once again. I am Arzu Jain. I am the host for the evening, and I manage communities and international ecosystem here at Headstart Network Foundation. I've been running the India Finland Startup Hub with an amazing team in Business Finland and Startup India. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, India Finland Startup Hub is a joint collaboration between Business Finland and Startup India, where we aim to help founders scale into the European market and Indian market, bridging the ecosystem of India and Finland. So yes, today is the final episode of this year, 2022. We'll be back again in 23 with new initiatives and newer topics to dive deep into. As you all know, today we have all gathered to discuss about the health tech ecosystem in India and Finland, and for that we have an amazing lineup of speakers, which will be knowing in just a few minutes. Before we begin, I would like to call upon my colleague Hanna to set the tone for the day and say a few words.
Thank you, Arzu. Good evening, everybody, and greetings from the really snowy Helsinki, Finland. My name is Hanna. I work for Business Finland in a unit called Work in Finland, and we are trying to attract talents and startups to Finland. Welcome also on my behalf to our 5th webinar, which we are organizing under the India Finland Startup Hub, as Arzu already mentioned. This webinar will be introducing the health tech sectors, both in Finland and in India. And we will hear about the health tech ecosystem in both of the countries, and also hear a couple of really interesting startup presentations from the health tech sector. I hope you enjoyed the session today. There is a chat function in use. It would be great if you would be active and asking questions there to the presenters. I have also prepared a feedback questionnaire about this event, which I will share then later on in the chat. It would be really, really nice to hear your thoughts and feedback about this event. But further ado, I hope you all have a really interesting webinar this afternoon. Thank you. Back to you, Arzu.
Thanks, Hanna. So we have a lot of health tech founders with us in this webinar today. I would highly urge you all to introduce yourselves in the chat box. Try to get to know the fellow ecosystem guys and girls in the chat. You could post about what you do. You could post about what sort of help you're looking for from India Finland Startup Hub, Business Finland, or Headstart Network Foundation. We'd be happy to take the questions in the chat box. So today we have quite brief sessions with 4 speakers, and all the questions will be taken in the chat box. If we have some time to spare towards the end, we will probably ask you guys to unmute and ask questions. But otherwise, it would be great if you all keep posting your questions in the chat, and the team will take those questions and answer them for you. So these are some of the things to keep in mind. So we'll start today's session with Chandan Chatterjee. It'll be a fireside chat with Gautam. Chandan is currently the chairman at Finland India Business Association, and is also investor and mentor to health tech startups in India. And it's with great pleasure I welcome you here at the India Finland Startup Hub Health Tech webinar, Chandan. It was great meeting you at Helsinki last month, and I'm glad we could call you over for this quick fireside chat. And to moderate this chat, we have Gautam S., director at Headstart Network Foundation, who also leads market platforms in Bloom Ventures. Welcome, Gautam, and welcome, Chandan. Over to you guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Arzu. It's always a pleasure and wonderful having Chandan on this chat. In fact, like you rightly said, it's hardly been a month since we caught up with Chandan at Helsinki, and Chandan's been a prolific healthcare investor in India. I think no better platform than this, than bringing our fresh memories of being in Helsinki less than a month ago, and bringing Chandan onto a platform where a lot of Indian healthcare entrepreneurs want to know what is happening in the from an investor's mindset, what's happening from a Finnish ecosystem perspective, and we also have some Finnish folks here, Finnish entrepreneurs looking at what's happening in the Indian healthcare ecosystem. So, Chandan, thank you so much for joining us. And like I said, I still love our conversation that we had over dinner at Helsinki. And no better way than taking it forward here in terms of a little chat on bringing out your experience of being an avid investor in the healthcare space, and the fact that you've been a senior leader in the industry, both in India and in Finland, I think is the best thing that could have happened for an India Finland Startup Hub session. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Gautam. I'm not sure whether I'm deserving of the rather, generous comments and praise that came from you and from Arzu. But thank you, guys, Headstart, for inviting. I'm very familiar with Business Finland. Of course, we work very closely, and with Startup India. And thanks to, of course, Slush, where we connected after a gap of 2 years due to the pandemic. We couldn't have the event. Maybe quick introduction. Some of the words you used sound a bit exaggerated to me. So, yeah. First of all, I have been an executive coach and an investor. I think over 25 years in a technology business, working in almost all the top 10 economies of the world, lived in 10 different places. There isn't a continent I have not traveled to. The focus of my work, I still work for Nokia, has been driving growth, driving transformation, and also did a lot of the startup or the growth in the business when Nokia was growing at a very fast pace. Over the last years, I've also done a couple of large M&A transactions with Nokia, and somewhere in the 2012-13, actually one of my friend who had great experience of setting up the American oncology unit in India started a very small boutique healthcare private equity, and he reached out to me. So I joined him as a founder along with him to participate in this HealthStart India, as we call it, a boutique fund focused on the health sector. We are a small investor. We usually work with some of the other angels in India, so I wouldn't say a big portfolio, but it has given us an insight to the Indian business, especially the startup ecosystem. Like all boutique funds, we've had our share of success and our share of failures. But the good thing is, when I look back at the overall investment portfolio and what we've gained, I think we've gained a lot in terms of learning, which has helped me then, make starts here in Finland, in the European economy, European system as well. But I think we've done better than average in terms of returns, etc. And it has been a fantastic learning journey for us to be part of this India healthcare. So that's where I started, and I just wanted to introduce myself so everybody knows, where I'm coming from. I'm not a healthcare professional. Fundamentally, I'm a technology professional. That's where I come from. But this was an interesting segment to begin with.
Absolutely, and thank you so much, for giving that perspective, because it gives a lot of our audience also, a direction on how to envisage what you're sharing. And in fact, it's wonderful to see the introductions that are pouring on chat. So keep it going. As entrepreneurs, we should never miss out on opportunity to network and exchange connects. So wonderful to see the crisp one-liners that are coming on chat. So on that note, Chandan, I just wanted to segue into HealthStart a little, because you've been playing a pivotal role of advising a lot of startups that come through HealthStart. Of course, with, like you rightly said, as a technology mentor, with the expertise that you have. In about 7 years, HealthStart's grown to become a leading healthcare incubator and an angel network in India. Walk us through, what has been the biggest motivator at HealthStart's leadership, and why HealthStart?
Right. As I said, the original founder, is a close friend of mine. We were at business school together on a course, and that's where our sort of acquaintance started. This person has gone through a number of things, but his last sort of role in India was in a healthcare segment. As I said, he brought basically American oncology into India, and they set up base with initially with the Fortis group of hospitals, and then they have of course expanded. So healthcare is something which he knew very well. But what we also saw that when we started to look at this, that India's challenges are very unique. We have first of all a wide spread of problems. We have problems right at the grassroots level, being able to reach out. Then you have problems at the urban level, where the scale and numbers are huge. So we knew one thing, that whatever we do, we will need to have a technology angle. The way to deliver this has to be through technology. Otherwise, you cannot solve the problems that has been already solved in other parts of the world in the same way. So somewhere along there needs to be a technology enabler, and I think that's what prompted him to reach out to us. So like I said, we are a small fund. We have amongst our investors, or the board members, we have expertise. So some people are from retail, some like the founder himself is a has good knowledge of the healthcare business. I have a good understanding of technology. So, we kind of complement each other in order to then evaluate the cases that come to us. And we, in fact, even had a full-time doctor on our sort of team, so that we kind of are able to assess these cases where, if you look at the problems which India has, we have a burgeoning population, fast changing lifestyle, and, the lifestyle related diseases and health issues that come with it, the obesity, the hypertension, which leads to diabetes, or, heart. These problems are there in every part of the world, but the scale and the depth at which we need to solve in India is a completely different thing. So this is what sort of was our, underlying vision. I am not so sure, when I look back at all our investments and everything that we have done, have we been able to bring this to fruition. Many of these have probably not come through, especially our deep reach into the community. That is something I do feel we have not been as effective as we probably wanted to be when we started the fund. We've been good with some of them. I think, some of the investments we've made, they have come through well. Those companies have grown and they've scaled
Maybe if I could double click on that, Chandan, right? Just picking up a couple of your investments in that space as an example. What are a few areas that you believe, as an enabler of the healthcare ecosystem, the early stage startups need that support? And where are the areas that you believe you're able to bring that value? Because looking at the chat, I'm just trying to make it a little more crisp. We have quite a few early stage healthcare startups in this call, and depending on, based on the introductions, I see quite a few building for lifestyle based disorders and diseases. So it'll be good to understand what kind of support you ideally think entrepreneurs in the early stage need, and how you as an enabler are able to build that.
So yeah, we are, again, like I said, we are a boutique player. We are not a large player. Of course, typically we've been going with some of the other, like with India Angels and other people who also, when we invest, they co-invest. I mean, we become co-investors with them. So they bring a lot of these expertise. We have not been in only one or two cases where we've done very early stage, seed or even pre-seed kind of funding. So most often we have been kind of on the journey together with some of the other larger, equity players. But coming to the problem that you said, our learning, and at least my personal learning, has been that for healthcare, I think, first of all, the innovation ecosystem, the kind of things that we see in India is just awesome. It's just fabulous with the kind of, solutions that are coming through, particularly on the diagnostic side, because that's one of the biggest challenges in India. If you look, we have a lot of disease, but how do you quickly and in a more cost-effective way diagnose what the issues are? And once you do that, then you can provide the healthcare. So diagnostics in itself is a huge, huge area. And we've seen some, fantastic solutions which come up through the innovation. The challenge most often what we've seen is not the seed or the pre-seed. That's where if you have a good entrepreneur, credible solution, that gets through. But like I would say, I'm not sure if this is not true for other sectors as well, but for healthcare, it definitely is in the scaling up. That's where we've seen many of the companies that even we have invested in have faltered, have fallen by the wayside. That's where the biggest challenges come. That's where the system, the whole difficulties of the challenges of the system comes through. And some make it, some don't. We are very happy to see people like Healthians, with whom we've been one of the earliest investors. They have come through fantastically.
I think that's a beautiful point, right? While the market is so deep, early stage is easy, but scaling in a market like India is where the real challenges step in. I think that's a wonderful insight for a lot of the Finnish healthcare startups also that have been constantly looking at expanding into the Indian ecosystem. Because you've been on the other side, can you also throw some light on how does healthcare work in Finland? Because in India, for us, we sell into clinics, we sell into private healthcare players. There's so many stakeholders at different levels of the pyramid for us. How does the Finnish healthcare system work?
Yeah, I think I have also with me, I can see in this call some of my own Finnish colleagues here, Hanna and others, and I'm sure they will be able to say this. But I think fundamentally, if you look at India in the last 20-25 years, majority of the healthcare investment in India has taken place in the private sector. In fact, this is something which the pandemic sort of bared open, is that the public investment in this, I think two spaces you see, the education and in healthcare, the government has taken a bit of a backseat, and most of the new investments have come through the private sector, which kind of skews the investment in a certain way. Only those diseases which make money, they get the investment. So if you look at the hospital capacities, if you look at most of the diagnostic, they are a lot around these lifestyle issues. So nobody caters for a pandemic situation, right? So if you look at, beds per 1,000 of population, etc., intensive care units per 1,000 of population, it's not where it should be. Contrast that with Finland, where this is of course very, very leading edge modern economy. Nordics are probably the best example of government public healthcare system. We have a fully funded public healthcare system. If you're a taxpayer, if you live in this country, you access healthcare. You don't need anything else. Of course, this system, like everywhere else, is also coming under pressure. Here the pressures are, of course, the cost of healthcare is very high. The professionals and it's each year the population here is declining. The spreads are large. It's a very large country. How do you provide the state-of-the-art quality which you are able to provide, probably in the urban areas, to those who are not in the urban areas? So, I think I see the technology manifestation in this part of the world coming through even faster. So those things where we are able to do things in more localized manner here in Finland and in the Nordics. I would say this is a very similar sort of economy. We see that the technology manifestations are much higher. So you are starting to see emergence of healthcare hubs. You see large hospitals getting consolidated because that's the only way they can provide quality healthcare. Very different challenge compared to India, where our populations are very spread out, very deep. But of course, the quality of healthcare in this part of the world is second to none. So
I think that's a wonderful point, right? Where one point for a lot of Indian healthcare companies looking at Finland is labor is expensive and sparse in Finland. So anything that you can bring in as a solution for the remote locations to get to replace labor and at the same time get quality healthcare facilities, Finland and Nordics would be the first ones to adopt. They've been so at the forefront of innovation. Final closing thoughts, Chandan, for any Indian entrepreneurs who are looking at Nordics as a way to expand to. What are some of the closing thoughts you would give, having been in Finland for a long time? It need not be entrepreneurial 2 cents that you give. It can even be a cultural 2 cents that you give. But your closing 2 cents for a lot of Indian entrepreneurs looking to move to Finland.
I think very different regulatory regime here, because one of the things that comes with the high quality medical care system is also there are standards which need to be maintained. There are standards which need to be adhered to. So it's also a very tightly regulated system. So you just cannot come and run trials and do things which probably in an Indian environment is a bit easier. I'm not trying to make light of the Indian regulatory system, but it's just that it's a whole different world in this part of the world. So be aware of it, be cognizant of it when you start to invest, because if you're trying something new, the procedures here, the process here is very different. And of course, the baseline here is very high. So, if you look at the new things here, there's precision medicine coming. There is, in diagnostics, you have microarray and things like that, which probably in India, from a technology point of view, we are there. But from an adoption and a usage point of view, we are very far. We are very far. Precision medicines are really expensive things, or microarrays. These are things which are not easily adoptable in India. I know there is a segment in India which can afford these things, but on the other hand, these are sort of things which are moving into more mass market in this part of the world.
Thank you so much, Chandan. I think it's been amazing having you with us and kickstarting this entire series of conversations around healthcare on the India Finland Startup Hub. We're looking at more and more bilateral conversations in 2023 between India and Finland startup ecosystem. Let this be the start to a lot of things. Keep your questions coming. All of us will try to keep answering them between us, whatever is going to be relevant for each of us. Thank you so much, Chandan, and over to you, Arzu.
Pleasure, Gautam. Thank you very much, and thanks for inviting. And I'll stay on mute, and I'll try to stay as long as I can. If there are questions that come to me specifically, if I can't answer them, maybe Arzu, you can send it to me later. I can find a way to come back to you guys. Okay, but I will not be able to stay for the full session. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you so much, Chandan.
Thank you so much, Chandan.
I think it was quite candid and filled with a lot of insights for founders from India. So thanks for that. And there are a couple of questions on the chat. If you will be able to take it now, Chandan, please do respond to them on the chat. Otherwise, I will bring them.
Will do. What I can, I will respond, but thereafter forward them to me. Thank you.
Yes. All right. Thanks a lot. So yes, with that, we come to the end of the first session, and I'm moving on to Hanna. I hope you're able to unmute.
Now let's see. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Ooh. Thank you very much. And yes, and I apologize for the problems with techniques. I don't know what it was.
I think it's a given when we are doing a webinar, we have to be prepared with such technical glitches. So yes. All right. Moving on to.
I think
to the session with Hanna. I'll probably give a quick introduction to our audience here. Hanna is the Director of Growth and Investments at Helsinki Partners. She's an experienced Senior Business Development Director with a demonstrated history of working in the international trade and development industry. And today she'll be covering what the future of health looks like in Finland. It'll be extremely important for founders looking to explore the European market, especially the Finnish market. And yes, over to you, Hanna.
To present myself, and actually there was a quite nice segue from the last conversation, which was very interesting, and thank you for that. And thank you for jumping straight into business and to see what Finland's healthcare scene has to offer. Because what the last question was about, that how do you get into the conversation, well, when you enter the market, what should you be looking at? And here, of course, the Helsinki Partners and also, for example, Business Finland, which is represented here today. I think my former colleague Puneet Thakur is online as well. Please make sure to connect with him, because we are both organizations. Helsinki Partners is the city organization helping international companies to set up business in Helsinki and in the capital region of Finland. And then, of course, there is also Business Finland, who works with helping companies to find business opportunities and to set up in any city in Finland. First of all, we're kind of taking one step back to look a little bit about Finland. I don't know how familiar you all online are with Finland, but I think it is good always to get a little bit of background, because especially when you're thinking about expanding into a new market, finding new business opportunities, maybe even relocating to a new market, then of course it's good to understand the basics of that country. And I always would like to start there. And this is also one thing that actually where Finland stands out in a very positive way in the world at this moment. It's not by chance that Finland has actually been chosen or voted as the happiest country in the world 5 times in a row, and it's based on objective measurements on different parameters of a good life. What kind of as a place to live and learn and work, it's an excellent and safe and good place to be, but also of course for the businesses. And I think this is what we are focusing on today. So Finland offers also the most stable business environment in the world. It has been chosen as the most stable country for 14 times in a row. So we are really talking about a place where I usually say where everything works. So the legislation is there, it's protecting the people, it's protecting the companies, also the political system in the world today when there seems to be a lot of polarization in political thoughts and directions. In Finland, we have a very common understanding of what is a good society and what is a society that serves all its members, how it looks like, and also all different parties are also all kind of joining in that same vision. So there of course are different views on things, but in the big picture you can always rely on the system, and then you can predict the future forward. No bigger changes in what we want a society to achieve. It was mentioned that Finland is a kind of expensive place cost-wise. I will get back to that. It's a relative fact. It might be, yes, it's not the cheapest place to do business, but in many ways it's one of the most cost-effective. I will get back to that. Also, of course, we are located in the outermost corner of Europe, but then again we have excellent connections both via flights and rail and boat connections all through to Europe, east and west. Now, yes, so now let's dig into the topic of the day. So health. Why should one internationally company think about doing health, entering the health sector. And I think as for Indian companies, for example, what many of my former clients, or even those ones that I worked from today from India, they are often looking at Finland and Helsinki as a place to enter the European market, and it's Finland is a good place from many viewpoints, and I would say that, well, of course, given that we have this great business environment, that makes a good choice. The other one is also that it's in a way it's a large country by its quite a limited population. We have only 5.5 million inhabitants in whole Finland, but then again, that makes it super easy to connect to the right people. You're also very close to the decision makers. There are not many layers in that sense. So as a company, it's also easier to navigate in a country that sometimes is referred to more as a country club than the country itself, because everybody knows everybody. Also in the health sector, it's also a very strong ecosystem of both like big international companies in pharma and in medtech, and of course the healthcare sector, and then we have an exceptionally strong health innovation startup ecosystem. So there's a lot of new innovation growing in Finland, and that wants to connect to other companies as well and to develop further. Then on the other side, we have also very strong public side. So we have universities, research institutes, and the public support organizations that then kind of can help companies to connect and work together. There is a strong background and tradition of actually of public and private partnership that then helps companies to connect to academia and so forth. Also, one thing that is really exceptional about Finland when we talk about health that's always raised is the health data, because in many cases, and if you want to, for example, develop new products, or you want to do health-related research and development work, then having the access to health data is crucial. And in Finland, we have 100 years of tradition of really great health data. So everything has been recorded from before you are born, because we have this strong public health care system, which was referred to earlier as well. So we are tracked as humans before we are even born to the day we die, and everything there in between, every service that we use in healthcare or in social services, when we go to different kind of hospitals, if we give any kind of tissue samples, all are connected and logged digitally, and all can be tracked by our personal ID numbers. So that makes a really great basis for making research and development, because you can actually combine very different kind of data sets quite easily. Then that isn't sometimes also possible to access, but in Finland we have this also our innovation-friendly legislation. So we have both a Biobank Act that makes sample collections of hospitals and research institutes available for all researchers, and also we have this law relating to secondary use of health data, which then makes it possible for companies to access this data quite easily. So we have a portal for accessing this data. Also, then one of the things that usually gets mentioned is that we have this culture of trust. So also the Finns really they love their research, and we all usually are open and willing to provide our data, and also to take part of different kind of research projects if that is needed. And that's not, of course, the same in whole of the world. So then if you look shortly at just to paint a picture of how the health industry looks like, As mentioned, we have a lot of companies and public players in the field, but in the company field, there are of course these healthcare and welfare service providers. But then we also have very strong health technology companies and pharmaceutical companies. The pharmaceuticals are primarily global ones. The health technology is actually one of the strongest export sectors in Finland, where we actually export more than we import. And I think and know also that one of the bases for this strong health technology know-how in Finland is based actually on our Nokia legacy. So since we don't do that much on the mobile phone part that we used to do, there was a lot of spin-offs from Nokia. Then now taking the different kind of software solutions, for example, for remote care and measurements of yourself and your health. So we have a lot of good companies in that field. For example, the Oura Ring is something that a product that many consumers know, where you can track your sleeping and how you feel. And we have other companies like Polar and Suunto, who makes these smartwatches that can track everything that you how you feel and how you perform. And so that's a very strong field where we have a lot of good R&D going on and projects and possible partners for you. Also on the pharmaceutical side, we have in Finland both production and of course R&D as well. So and one of the biggest investments that was announced last year was actually Bayer announcing a 250 million euro investment into their production sites in Turku region for contraceptives. So that's also just showing that we have a cost-efficient business environment for production, if that is something that could be interesting to look at within EU, so to speak. Here, just wanted to highlight a few of these kind of areas of expertise where we have a lot of world-class research, and then, for example, in genomics and neuro research, we have these kind of centers of excellence, and also in cancer. So that's where there's a lot of research and funding going into that. Of course, digital health, as mentioned already several times, it's one of the strongest areas of expertise in Finland. Precision medicine, imaging is once again connected also to our mobile phone legacy and monitoring and sensoring. So that's if you happen to be active in any of these fields, this is definitely you should give me a call and we could see what we could do together on this side. Next slide, please. So what I also, as I mentioned in the beginning, I will get back to this cost efficiency thing, because what Finland, I think, and then in particular also Helsinki can offer is the pool of expertise. So that's I think the strongest kind of value proposition that whole Finland has in healthcare is our extremely well-educated population. So half of the people have master's degrees, and we have a lot of people with health tech background, and also these kind of cross-functional know-hows between, for example, ICT and health. So that is something that we think you should look into. We can help you also to find where and what kind of expertise is available in Finland. This is also one part where Finland and also Helsinki in particular is looking to actually get more people to move into Finland, move into Helsinki, and work on this field. So also, if that would be an interest, then and we are especially looking at India. We think there is a perfect match of really great talent if somebody would be interested in to look also what Finland could offer then as a place to work and live within this field, then that is definitely something we should explore further. Also, when people are talking about this really world-class workforce, then always the question is that is it really expensive? I always want to show this slide that no, actually definitely on a European scale, Finland is actually one of the most cost-efficient places to do business. So this is this chart is actually a comparison of what a 25-person healthcare R&D center cost setup would look like. So we are actually in much more cost efficient than Norway, Denmark, or Germany, and definitely cheaper than in the US and Switzerland. Also, this is just one thing showing for businesses that about the cost efficiency that also the tax rate is one of Europe's lowest. Now this is a slide usually I just wanted to show you because this is something that very many companies that I talk to ask. So is there any incentives available if one starts up a business in Finland or Helsinki? And then the answer is yes. If an international company sets up a subsidiary in Finland, then or legal entity in Finland, then that legal entity is eligible for all the same incentives as kind of a Finnish domestic company would be. So there is, for example, the Business Finland R&D instruments, incentives, loans and grants. There are many other kind of support from local business centers. We have also then export funding, and we have also different kind of training and employment incentives. So if and I would say that probably within the healthcare field, this R&D grant is the most interesting one. And I can also, if you go at the next slide, there is also one special tool that can be worthwhile to at least it's good to know about. So if you were to think about doing health-related R&D work in Finland, then you are able to deduct all the expenses that you put on R&D in Finland for 150%. So if you get any kind of incomes or in Finland, you can actually over a couple of years deduct all the expenses that you have put on R&D work. So this is I think a really good incentive to know about, and it's actually still valid until 2027. So you have still time to come and set up your business and enjoy this super deduction. Then next, I think it's the last slide. So yep, shortly about then Helsinki Partners and what we can do for you. So Helsinki Partners is, as mentioned, the investment promotion, the talent attraction and the visitor attraction organization of City of Helsinki. Our job is to make it easier for international companies to find business opportunities in Helsinki and to concretely set up business here. So, and it's always complimentary and confidential services. So if you're interested in exploring what kind of business opportunities that would be open for you in Helsinki, please just send me a line on connect with me on LinkedIn, and we can go further from there. And also, as mentioned, there is this we worked very closely together with Business Finland, which is the national organization for investment promotion in Finland, and we have Mr. Puneet Thakur in this call as well, and he can then help you locally if you're not quite sure if Finland is the right place for you or where it would go and what you would like to do. And if it's easier, you can start with Puneet, and then also please feel free to reach out to us as well, and we will make sure that we help you to navigate in this system. So thank you again for your attention, and I apologize for the technical problems at the beginning, but hopefully you were able to hear and see me and the presentation well. Thanks a lot, and thanks, Hanna, for helping me.
Thanks a lot, Hanna. I think what you shared about Finland as a country to move in and start up, I experienced it firsthand when I visited Helsinki last month for Slush. And it truly is a very beautiful country and really kind people, really helpful, and the community culture in Finland as a whole is amazing to see. The startup community is so closely knitted. We had the opportunity to meet so many of our partners there. Thanks to Business Finland for setting that up for us. But yes, it truly is a place that one should experience in their lifetime and get a taste of the winter in Finland, or actually all seasons in Finland. So yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Hanna,
Happy to hear that. Thank you
for bringing those points out. And I'm sure the points that were mentioned in Hanna's presentation and talk, the kind of resources that's available for founders, I'm sure those were insightful. And if you need any sort of, if you need to revisit that, the recording of this episode will be available on our YouTube very soon, or you can always write to us and we'll get back to you with the right resources. All right, I think we'll move on with this. We'll move on with to our next speaker. All right, hi Abhishek. Quickly, a brief introduction about Abhishek. He is the CEO of a health tech startup in Finland called Hoivita, and Hoivita is into remote health monitoring solutions to home care service providers. It's a pleasure to have you on board, Abhishek, and excited to hear the story of Hoivita and how you're building that from Finland.
Thank you, Arzu. Thank you, Headstart and Business Finland, for having me here. I think, as Arzu mentioned, it's been quite of a journey. Hoivita has been something very interesting and something close to my heart. And I think the way I would like to present this is in two methods. I think mine is going to be a little more informal compared to the first two speakers. So in the first half, I think I would like to briefly touch upon, how I came to Finland, how we started Henkaus, and in the second half, I think I would like to take you all through a brief overview of what Hoivita does. So everyone who's joining us now, I'm Abhishek Jayaprakash. I'm the CEO of Hoivita. We are a health tech company that makes remote health monitoring solutions to the elderly B2B target sector. So basically elderly care homes, home care service providers, and assisted living facilities. I've been here in Finland for about 6 years now. And a funny fact is I'm actually in India right now. So I'm originally from Bangalore in India. And I usually visit this time of the year to get some sun away from the weather in Finland. But yes, came here about 6 years ago. So I came here to do my master's. So I'm originally a mechanical engineer, and I did my bachelor's there in Bangalore. And then I came to Finland to do my master's in innovation and technology management. And I think right there and then I understood one of the first points, about Finland and about the methods to enter Finland. And the first fact was, even applying to the university, there are certain requirements, as in all cases, but it's just a certain fixed path that there's just a limited number of steps that one has to follow. And if you have those documents, you have the procedure, you've done everything as you wish to, then 99% of the times you will get a response from the university or from any authority here in Finland. So that way everything is done online. You don't need any external agencies like in some of the other countries. And I think in that fact, right then I understood that this is one of the many steps that I got to know more about Finland as I started to live here. So then when I applied for universities, I had the opportunity to select either Sweden, Denmark, or Finland. And back then, at least, I think all of us have heard that the most known fact about Finland was Nokia. Everyone was aware of Nokia. And the second fact that I was aware of was health. There was some association with Finnish HealthTech, and I think, like the previous speaker, Hanna, also mentioned that it's so well connected, and everything can be accessed through your personal data or through your personal security number, that everyone, it doesn't matter in which healthcare facility you get your treatment from, everyone knows your history and knows what tests you've taken or any laboratory tests or any other parameters that you've done. So back then, and I also had heard very highly of the Finnish education system, which is a lot different than our Indian education system. Both have their pros and cons, but this was something that I wanted to experience, and that was my first step here. Post that, towards the end of my master's program, is when I met my co-founders, and we had this because we had understood that the Finnish healthcare ecosystem was so well connected, and we had this idea where we could start something of our own that could benefit the society in general. And that's when we formed Henkaus, which was a company that made remote respiration rate monitoring devices. So radar-based solutions that can pick up a person's respiration rate from about 5 meters away from them. And of course, starting that was not easy, because when students come from abroad to study, the usual path that they take is to get into, to find a job here in Finland. But in our case, it was slightly different, because we wanted to start a company. And back then, let's say things were not that certain of the right way to go about this. But then we had a lot of help locally here. So I studied here in the city called Lappeenranta. The university is called Lappeenranta University of Technology. We're about 200 kilometers from Helsinki. And then it was everyone from the TE office to the local support system here that helped us get in Business Finland. And funnily enough, we had a startup visa, especially for people like us. And this is also applicable for people coming from abroad. So anyone who wants to establish a business in Finland, I think can go through, or one of the methods to go through is the startup visa that they have. Again, it's all available on Business Finland's website. There are a set list of requirements, and if you meet those requirements, I think in most of the cases, you will get a response from them in terms of how to proceed. And in our case as well, it was the startup visa that helped us in our next process once we finished, finished our masters. And that's when, again, through the local infrastructure, through the local investors, or through the local community, is when we met our first investors here in Lappeenranta. Of course, Lappeenranta is a smaller city compared to Helsinki, compared to Oulu. So some of the bigger cities where you'll definitely find things a lot easier are Helsinki, Oulu, Tampere. But then, as Hanna also mentioned, Finland is such a small country that everyone knows everyone. So you're a few phone calls away from meeting the right person or getting the right information. And that's another thing that I noticed very quickly when I reached Finland, or even through my master's program, that even if you want an internship, you want the right people, when it comes to investors, if you want information regarding funding, everything is a way, again, through a direct contact within your municipality. And everyone is well connected that way. So for us, it became a natural progress. Once we got our startup visas is when we officially started Henkaus. And after a few years, we've been, had to pivot into this new sector, which was, requesting our solutions. And that's when we entered into the HealthTech sector. So the assisted living facilities, the home care service providers. And through them is when we met the other company called Westratio, who've been jointly, offering solutions to our customers. And then I think it was earlier this year is when we officially formed Hoivita. So we merged with Westratio to form Hoivita. Now we provide, our solutions to elderly care homes, home care service providers, as well as hospitals. And again, our main emphasis is this point of, non-contact measurement. And the idea is to provide these health insights. And another aspect of Finland is, if there is a certain path, if there is, certain requirements that is listed on Business Finland's website, please follow it to the dot, and most likely you will, get a response or get an appropriate answer. But that was about my background, about my history. So we are a company that is based out of Lankinen. We have about 10 years of experience between us in the health tech solution space. And what we do is we provide health insights of the elderly and critical incidents such as fall detection, SOS alerts, or night movement directly to the caregivers. And the main idea is to prolong the independent living of the elderly at home, because Finland has an aging population, and as we know, even the shortage of nurses is something that's affecting not only Finland but all countries around the world. Another idea is to provide as much insight to the caregivers as possible to prolong the independent living at home of the elderly at home. Again, we either lease our solutions or we have a device / annual fee for our services. This is, I think, one picture that summarizes basically what we do. This is from our launch event here in September, where we had installed this glass home by the shores of Lake Saimaa. And to the right, you see all our devices here. So we have our day and night activity monitor, our fall detection sensor here, the day and night activity monitor here, the SOS button here, remote respiration rate monitor, as well as our video service. So the idea of this house was to show to the consumers that regular monitoring is possible in an inexpensive way, and at the same time, without intruding on the comforts of the elderly. I think we all have elderly, grandparents or parents at home where once they cross a certain age, they get used to their ways, and it's a little difficult. So we understood that problem, really well here, and we just try to keep it as minimalistic as possible, but at the same time to provide as much information as possible to the caregiver so that they can take corrective measures at an early stage. So to briefly touch upon the problems we were trying to address is, at least when it comes to home care service providers, there is always this lack of information before they visit their patients. And the other one that we talked about is the limited infrastructure in hospitals and care facilities. And the third main issue when it comes to, I think, countries all around the world is the staffing issue that is now starting. And the stats here on the right only go to indicate the level of this fact here in at least in Europe. And what this does is all these lead to a possibility where the healthcare facility could miss out on taking preventive measures at an early stage. And that's where we are trying to come in by providing as much information on a regular basis so that corrective measures can be taken at an early stage. So again, once we understand the needs of our customers, we install our sensors in their facilities, and then the idea is to provide all these information to them. And one of the other biggest benefits is all our solutions are simple plug-and-play devices that can be installed or can be shifted from one patient room to another without any external service provider or installation support, and all can be done within a few minutes. And of course, when it comes to our solutions, everything goes to our platform. That's where the real magic happens, when it happens with the data analysis. And there is a bit of AI as well, which we are starting to develop when it comes to certain predictive indicators. But then all the information, all the data goes to our cloud and then is available to the home care service providers, assisted living facilities, or the hospitals. And at the same time, of course, now we have a new healthcare reform that's currently underway. There have been service providers that need all this data to be integrated to their own platforms, and that's something we also do, just to make the onboarding as smooth as possible, so that they don't need another platform just to continue monitoring the elderly. Again, this is just a sample UI of our UI and alert system. And here are a few customers that we have. So currently we are located in Finland, as well as to the east of Finland and to in the west of Finland. And we have very interesting pilots ongoing with a few Spanish hospitals and with a care home in Australia, where various factors are currently being considered in order to take things further. But I think that's pretty much it. I would be happy to clarify any questions or anything that people may have. And here's my contact information again. So if there's something, please feel free to reach out. But I don't know if we can take a few questions now, or I think it'll be there in the chat. I'm happy to answer them. I am on a bit of a tight schedule though, but I think if someone could forward it to me, Arzu, or someone could forward it to me, it would be great.
For sure, I'll do that, Abhishek. And thanks for sharing your journey. I think yours is similar to people going to Finland to pay a visit and then staying there because you're charmed by the people, the country, and the ecosystem there. And it's great to know that the journey has been smooth and it's looking quite good for your startup as well. All the best for that, and thanks for sharing your journey with us today, Abhishek.
Thank you so much. No problem at all. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. I think with that, we've come to the last session of the evening. But yeah, if you have any questions for Abhishek, please feel free to drop them in the chat and I can forward it to him later on. And I think there's been quite a buzz about the founder that I'm going to call next. Yes. All right. So up next, we have Rajat Jain from Sunfox Technology. Quite a few of you would know him from Shark Tank India, the guy who, the startup who managed to bag all 5 investments from all 5 sharks. So yes, it's a pleasure to have you with us, Rajat, and I'm excited for the conversation that we're going to have for the next 15 minutes. I think let's begin with a brief introduction. Why don't you introduce yourself to our audience today and also tell us the journey of building Spandan from Dehradun to being known by so many people in India through Shark Tank India, and what you were able to the magic that you were able to create on the platform.
Thank you so much, Arju, for having me. And I'm glad to be here on this beautiful session. So, hi everyone, I'm Rajat Jain. I founded this company called Sunfox Technologies. We are basically into the business of saving lives. We detect heart attacks on a smartphone. So, as I come from a northern Himalayan region in India called Uttarakhand. So I'm building this venture from the foothills of Himalayas, this beautiful valley called Dehradun. So geographically, we're quite similar to Finland, in terms of weather and accessibility. So how we started is, when I was a kid, I used to have a Pentium 1 computer at my home. And I was thinking, wow, what a fast computer we have. And now nowadays in our pocket we have at least 100 times or even 1,000 times faster computers called smartphone in our pocket. And I'm born and brought up in a small village, so people feel a lot of trouble and kind of unavailability of the medical devices at the right time, and that's why we lose a lot of people. So these two ideas led me to build a solution which can help people to do ICU grade, hospital grade cardiac diagnosis on a smartphone without a doctor, and can help them to share the information remotely. So this solution is called Chandan, and this is probably the world's smallest and the smartest electrocardiography tool, which works with a edge-based AI engine. You put your phone into the flight mode, but it's still, you can get the instant information. You can get instant diagnosis, and you can basically know when to take a patient, or as a patient when to go and see a doctor, and when to go to the hospital, so that we can avoid these confusions due to gastric pain and other troubles which people are often confused with in case of chest pain. So we are still headquartered in Dehradun. We are a team of about 100 people doing R&D to the manufacturing in-house. So we build the whole ecosystem around us, being a very early stage ecosystem, even not just the company here in the state. So yeah, so that's a bit about us, and happy to chat further with you.
Always a pleasure to hear from founders who are based out of the hilly regions of India, and the kind of work that they're doing, building the ecosystem from scratch. And I think that's what Sunfox also did for Dehradun and the whole Uttarakhand, right? So before we jump into all the brilliant stuff that Spandan has been doing, maybe we could talk about your views as a founder. What are your views about the Indian health tech ecosystem? What do you think are the opportunities for the new founders in the space, and what's the market like?
Sure. So, when we started, we assessed the market, and we found that I think India is, one of the world's largest market today, especially from the healthcare perspective. So, so in India, there are more than 3 crore cardiac patients. If you talk about just the cardiac, diagnosis segment, and same goes in the similar way for other markets as well. So, one of the blood pressure companies sold 100 million devices in last 4 years just in India itself. So that's the kind of market, that's the kind of opportunity we have, and especially from the healthcare equipments perspective, around 80% of the major equipments are currently imported in India and not being designed and developed here, or but Indian ecosystem is very aspirational and ambitious as of today to attract the R&D and the manufacturing as well here to for building locally. So I think that this is something which is very important for any of the company, any of the startup, to stay close to the market and to stay, close to your customers. And so that's one of the opportunity which we saw and started building for it. When we talk about the gaps, the gaps are especially about building the solutions in a frugal way, or building the solution very you can say in a very simple manner, because the complex equipments are there out in the market, but India has a capability to build all of these solutions very cost effectively, be it R&D, be it manufacturing, or even at a operational level. So I think these gaps can be actually solved, and yeah, that's my personal opinion.
All right. I think, yeah. So, you spoke about the Indian market, and you've been doing some amazing work for Indians, especially with the Kedarnath project that you guys managed to pull off. I would like for you to, throw some light on that project and probably connect it with so you also visited Helsinki last month. You visited Finland, Lapland, and multiple other places in Finland. How would you like to draw parallel to to some of the regions in the European market? How would a Kedarnath project be replicated in the Finnish regions? So, what are your views on that?
Sure. So I'll throw some light on my Kedarnath project first. So Kedarnath is a very holy place in Himalayas. So it's close to a glacier from where the river Ganga originates. Right. So my friends here in the session from India must be very familiar with the place. But and geographically, Uttarakhand is very similar to the Finland in terms of weather, in terms of accessibility, and there are also very remote locations. You'll not find too many people, and so much accessibility at every part. So in Kedarnath, there is a temple which is situated at the altitude of about 8,000 feet. from the sea level, and we expected about 1.5 million pilgrims this year. Trekking for 20 kilometers in all odd weathers, to visit the temple. So because of the terrain and geographical difficulties, it's very tough to take medical facilities there, and if somebody is ill or somebody is having some issue or emergency, so airlifting is the only solution, and which is also not possible at some part of the tracks. So you have to actually carry the patient on the shoulders to actually bring to the base, and then from there you can take to the nearby hospital. So in the very first 2 months when the yatra started in May this year, so we lost about 107 people, and out of these 107 people, 102 died due to heart attacks only. So because people who are not very familiar with the exhaustive track and that kind of exercises, they face difficulties, and they have the heart attack, and there is no facility available. So we thought, let's build something, and the solution which we have, it is a matchbox size device, which weighs only 12 gram. You can put it in your pocket and just use it everywhere. So we built that facility to provide the pre-screening to the patients who are coming there, and we were flagging them if they're fit to go for the track or not. If they're not fit, they can take the preventive measures, taking the medicines, taking the different way of going there, so that they can avoid the exhaustive track. And the amazing thing which we found, that we achieved you know we reduced the mortality to 1/5 in the rest of 4 months. So as compared with first 2 months, only 20% of the people died. So that's kind of the impact we have been able to make. So now when we talk about Finland, so when I was in uh, the Lapland region, specifically in Rovaniemi, so I saw there are a lot of remote locations, and people, there are obviously very less number of people, no medical workforce, unlike other parts of the country. So people need immediate support if they are having any trouble. So the behavior in the patients, if somebody is having a chest pain, at that time is different. They don't want to see a doctor, or the time between the event happening, the chest pain happening, and reaching to the medical facility is long. And due to this, the mortality is very high, right? So if we diagnose the patient at the right time, in the minimal medical, supervision, or the minimal medical staff, so we can actually prevent a lot of deaths. So this is a parallel which I see as compared with the solution, which we make. Elderly people can do the self-monitoring. People can remotely monitor their, parents or the family members. Doctors can see the live cardiac events happening, at the patient's end, and then they can also provide the emergency, medications, and can help to save that particular life. So this is how I see, and I believe it could be a a really lifesaver innovation. Yeah, for both of the geographies.
Yes, I think it's the need of the hour, to have accessibility to such devices, which are really, fatal in nature. I'm sure you must be having the device in your pocket at the moment, given that it's really a small device. If you can bring it to the screen, that would be great for people to visualize, maybe, of how small
So
a device you're talking about.
so this is the whole device which we make, and you can see this is how small it is. So the idea is, it's like a thermometer for your heart. So we all have a thermometer at home. We don't fall sick every day. We don't use it every day. But the idea is we should have it when we need it the most. And that conception among the patients that heart attacks are sudden, unpredictable. So that's not the case. We can definitely, monitor and diagnose abnormal hearts in the early stage, and can reduce the risk of having a preventable heart attack for sure.
All right, thanks for that. And yeah, so as you spoke about, how regions in Finland can also, how Spandan can be, in the European market, saving lives in the European market. As a founder who has recently been to Helsinki, maybe we could end the session with a few lines from you about your experience as a founder in Helsinki, what the support has been for you there, and why should other founders in India explore the European market, making it as the gateway probably. So if you have a few lines for them from your recent experience.
Yeah. So I was actually my idea, my personal plan to visit Helsinki was to see Finland as a gateway for the European market. And I was super surprised when I visited the couple of incubators there. I saw a very different culture, which is super friendly to the founders. A lot of supports coming from the local ecosystem players, from the academia, from the investors, and even from the enablers perspective. So I've been to other places in Europe as well while I was exploring the market for my product, my company for the Europe. And I really loved, how Helsinki is doing, and how friendly it is for the founders. So I think as a founder, we should definitely explore Finland as the gateway for the European market. And especially, I love the weather.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's definitely an add-on. Thanks, Rajat, for joining us today and sharing your journey about Sunfox, about Spandan. And as you rightly mentioned, Spandan is a device equal to thermometer, and one should definitely have them have it accessible at home. So definitely check out Spandan. If you could drop the maybe some website or your LinkedIn, that would be great for people to connect with you. And we do have a few questions, but I'm sorry, we are running short in time. So if Rajat, you can answer them on the chat, that would be great. But otherwise, thanks for joining us today, Rajat.
Thank you so much, Arju.
All right, I think it's always the case with India Finland Startup Hub. We tend to get so deep into the conversation, which we initially planned to keep very brief. But thanks for all the good response that we've been getting for all these sessions. As I mentioned in the start, this would be the final episode for this year, and we'll be back with a few more initiatives in the coming year. So watch out for that. And I've also added our link to the India Finland Startup Hub community. Please do join it. And Hanna has already put up a feedback form. Request you all to take some time out and give your feedback on on how did you feel about the sessions, and if you wish to revisit any of our previous sessions, you can always go to our YouTube channel and access any of these resources there. Please feel free to write to me or connect with me on LinkedIn. If you have any queries, I'll be happy to answer them. And once again, thanks a lot for joining us. With that, I'll take your leave and I'll see you next year. Thank you so much.